Brooklyn history. Secrets of New York's most enigmatic borough. Brooklyn, one of the 5 iconic boroughs of New York City, rests on the southwestern edge of Long Island, in southeastern New York State. Known today for its energy and cultural power, Brooklyn hides a past layered with mystery and transformation. It shares its borders with Queens to the north and east, the Atlantic Ocean to the south, and the sweeping waters of the upper and lower New York bays to the west. The East River divides it from Manhattan, yet bridges like the legendary Brooklyn Bridge, along with tunnels and rapid transit routes, weave the two boroughs together. In 2020, Brooklyn's population surged past 2.7 million, cementing its place as New York's most populous borough. But behind this modern metropolis lies a history steeped in untold stories. The first settlers, Dutch farmers, arrived in 1636, establishing a foothold on land that would soon bear many names. Brooklyn, Browklyn, Brooklyn, and Brookline. The name Brooklyn, as we know it, only emerged toward the close of the 18th century, as if the place itself was shedding its old identities to prepare for the centuries ahead. Soon, other settlements like Flatlands, Wallabout, Gravesend, New Utrecht, Flatbush, Bushwick, and Williamsburg emerged, shaping the rugged frontier of early colonial life. Brooklyn's soil was once a battleground for freedom. On August 27, 1776, the Battle of Long Island raged here, a pivotal moment in the American Revolutionary War. Though the American forces retreated to the heights overlooking the East River, their spirit remained unbroken, and Brooklyn Heights would later become a beacon of affluence and culture in the 19th century. By the 1800s, Brooklyn transformed into something unprecedented, the world's first modern commuter suburb. Its streets filled with wealth, ambition, and whispers of the city's expansion. In 1816, its most populated section was incorporated as a village, and by 1834, it had become a city in its own right. The annexation of Williamsburg and Bushwick in 1855 marked the beginning of Brooklyn's rise to dominance. Over time, one community after another was absorbed, until the city of Brooklyn became one with Kings County, an identity forged in both struggle and triumph. Brooklyn's history is not just a tale of growth. It is a saga of resilience, reinvention, and secrets waiting to be unearthed. By the 1880s, Brooklyn had risen to become one of the nation's most formidable manufacturing powerhouses, its influence eclipsing even that of Manhattan's bustling port. In this golden era, Brooklyn's docks and warehouses pulsed with life, moving more tonnage than its counterpart across the East River. At the heart of its industrial empire was sugar refining, the city's largest and most lucrative industry, feeding a nation's growing appetite for sweetness. Yet Brooklyn's industrious spirit did not stop there. In Greenpoint, the legendary Continental Iron Works gave birth to the ironclad battleship Monitor, a name forever etched in Civil War history. Across the borough, petroleum refineries burned through the night, slaughterhouses hummed with relentless activity, and factories churned out goods that would define an era. Brooklyn was a place where precision met creativity. Clocks, cigars, beer, insulated wiring, electrical signs, packaged coffee, and even the first teddy bears all emerged from this borough's workshops. This reign of industry, however, would not last forever. By the 1950s, whispers of change swept through Brooklyn as manufacturers began to abandon its shores for cheaper, less urbanized regions. The decline of its factories marked the end of an age. But the echoes of Brooklyn's manufacturing might still linger in the silent skeletons of old warehouses and forgotten industrial streets. During the final decades of the 19th century, Brooklyn stood proudly among the most populous cities in the United States, a cultural and civic force rivaling even Manhattan. By 1859, it boasted its own Academy of Music, and by 1863, the Brooklyn Historical Society was preserving the borough's ever-growing legacy. Then came an ambitious vision that would reshape Brooklyn's landscape forever. In the late 1860s, Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux, the visionary minds behind Manhattan Central Park, designed a grand network of parks and sweeping parkways unlike anything the country had ever seen. At its heart lay Prospect Park, a 526-acre masterpiece completed in the 1870s, with avenues stretching all the way to the shores of Coney Island. The monumental Grand Army Plaza, with its striking John H. Duncan Memorial Arch, later rose as a gateway to this green sanctuary. Yet, Even as Brooklyn carved out its cultural and architectural identity, forces were gathering to pull it closer to Manhattan's shadow. The construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, masterminded by John Roebling and completed in 1883 under his son Washington Roebling, connected the two boroughs like never before. It was both a triumph and a turning point. Business leaders demanded closer ties to New York City, and despite fierce local resistance, Brooklyn was eventually consolidated into Greater New York in 1898 by a razor-thin margin of just 277 votes. Still, Brooklyn's spirit refused to be subdued. Its identity burned fiercely, embodied by the beloved Brooklyn Dodgers, who called Ebbets Field home. In 1947, Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier in a Dodgers uniform, a moment that not only redefined sports, but also reflected Brooklyn's role as a beacon for Black Americans arriving from the South during the Great Migration. But the borough's pride was shaken when the Dodgers left for Los Angeles in 1957, a cultural wound that coincided with the borough's economic unraveling. As the United States shifted into a post-industrial age, Brooklyn's once thriving manufacturing sector began to crumble. Between 1954 and 1990, its manufacturing output was slashed in half. The once bustling dockyards turned silent, and the Brooklyn Navy Yard, a symbol of the borough's industrial might, was officially shuttered in 1966. The decline of Brooklyn reached a chilling low in July 1977. A citywide power outage plunged New York into darkness, igniting riots, arson, and looting that devastated entire neighborhoods. Nowhere was the destruction more brutal than in Bushwick, where fires and violence scarred the streets, leaving behind a haunting reminder of a borough once defined by industry and strength. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Brooklyn weathered turbulence, poverty, and a reputation for crime, but the storm would not last forever. By the 1990s, a transformation began, quiet first, then unstoppable. Neighborhoods like Brooklyn Heights, Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, and Park Slope were revitalized as young professionals and families sought refuge from Manhattan's soaring costs. In North Brooklyn, Williamsburg emerged as a creative frontier, luring artists and visionaries who carved out a bohemian enclave from the borough's industrial bones. Technology-driven businesses soon replaced shutter factories, and Brooklyn's working-class identity began evolving into something entirely new, a patchwork of innovation, culture, and reinvention. The contemporary face of Brooklyn. Today, Brooklyn streets hum with the energy of the 21st century's knowledge economy. Coffee houses, craft breweries, art galleries, and boutique shops fill once forgotten spaces, creating a magnetic draw for entrepreneurs and creatives alike. Between 2009 and 2017, the borough's technology sector grew by over 57%, fueled by startups, next-generation manufacturers, and creative powerhouses in film, design, and music. Its extensive transportation network, subways, buses, ferries, and the Long Island Railroad, connects the borough's vibrant neighborhoods to the heart of New York. Brooklyn is home to prestigious institutions like Pratt Institute, 1887, and NYU's Tandon School of Engineering, alongside campuses of CUNY, SUNY, and Long Island University. The borough's cultural scene is a universe of its own. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden, the Brooklyn Museum, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, the Center for Brooklyn History, and the New York Transit Museum stand as pillars of its artistic and historical legacy. Family destinations like the Brooklyn Children's Museum and the Jewish Children's Museum preserve its inclusive spirit. Sports thrive at the Barclays Center, where the Brooklyn Nets and New York Liberty command the court, while the Brooklyn Cyclones bring baseball to Coney Island's shore. Brooklyn's story is also told through its voices and legends. Publications like the historic Brooklyn Eagle, first published in 1841, Brooklyn Magazine, and the iconic music blog Brooklyn Vegan, continue to shape the borough's identity. Its native sons and daughters, composer George Gershwin, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, filmmakers Woody Allen and Spike Lee, boxing champions Floyd Patterson and Mike Tyson, rapper Jay-Z, and the immortal Notorious B.I.G. have left their marks on history, music, and culture. Brooklyn's journey is far from over. It is a place of constant reinvention, where the echoes of the past and the ambitions of the future collide in an unending story. Brooklyn is a mosaic of neighborhoods, each with its own story etched into the borough's history. Brooklyn Heights offers sweeping, cinematic views of Lower Manhattan from its iconic promenade along the East River. In Park Slope, rows of stately brownstone homes line tree-shaded streets, while Carroll Gardens retains its deep Italian-American roots, now intertwined with trendy restaurants, boutique shops, and lively bars. DUMBO, down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass, has transformed into one of New York City's most celebrated arts districts, a hub where cobblestone streets meet cutting-edge galleries. Meanwhile, Coney Island remains a timeless playground. Its oceanfront beach, bustling boardwalk, and legendary amusement rides like the Wonder Wheel, 1920, and the historic Cyclone roller coaster, 1927, still draw crowds in search of nostalgia and thrill. Even as gentrification reshaped Williamsburg, its reputation as a hipster enclave endured, though many artists have drifted toward Greenpoint, Gowanus, with its eerily beautiful canal, and Bushwick, which has become a canvas of street art and creativity. Bedford-Stuyvesant, once the cultural heart of Brooklyn's black community, has weathered poverty and urban blight, but its streets are now alive with renewal. In Brighton Beach, the area known as Little Odessa stands as a stronghold for Russian and Eastern European immigrants, while communities from Latin America, the Caribbean, China, Korea, and the Middle East have built their own vibrant enclaves across the borough. Yet, beneath Brooklyn's modern renaissance, shadows of inequality linger. Even now, poverty and struggle exist side by side with luxury and progress, reminding us that the story of Brooklyn is far from finished. What's next in History Love's journey? Brooklyn's history is not just about places. It's about transformation, resilience, and the untold stories that shape America itself. If you found this journey through Brooklyn history fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Join History Love as we uncover the hidden stories, lost legends, and powerful moments that shaped our world. Where should we travel next through history? Let us know in the comments.